Hey, real estate agents, welcome to the Weekly Closer. I'm your host, Jeff Underwood, along with my co-host, Joey Sampaga. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Jeff? How you doing?
Good. How was your off-road little adventure thing?
It was awesome. You know, we were hoping to go camping there, but we didn't because this thing came too late. I don't know if you can read that back there.
Oh.
Yeah, the rooftop tent.
Rooftop tent.
So we ended up staying in a hotel instead.
Oh, well.
Too bad.
If my wife was on the trip, she would have preferred the resort.
Yeah.
So
The resort.
Hey, we've got a full house today. We've got Tina Tamboer with the Crawford Report. We've got Sheryl Willis with Go Arizona Real Estate and Greg Douthit with Security Title Agency. How you guys doing? Doing all right?
Yeah.
Sweet. Hey, we are going to dive into what the heck is going on with the market out there. We've got Tina here that's going to kind of really go into what the Crawford Report does and how it helps real estate agents to help their clients. And then Sheryl's going to also jump in about how she's successful during this crazy market that we find ourselves in, when we have a lot of agents that are saying, well, I don't want to work with buyers because I just can't get them anything, right? Yeah. And I think that that's probably the wrong approach. So let's dive in first with an introduction. Why don't we start? Tina, you want to just introduce yourself real quick? How long you've been with the Crawford Report and kind of how you got into it. And then we'll jump to Sheryl with how long you've been in real estate. And then Greg, how long you've been in title. Cool.
Very cool.
All right. Well, my name is Tina Tamboer. I'm with the Crawford Report. I am the senior housing analyst. What we do is provide analytics for the residential resale industry here for agents who are members of the Arizona Regional MLS. So what we do is we dig deep into what's pushing the market, supply, demand, days on market, where people are getting their contracts, how many people you're competing for in terms of buyers, and then seller side. So we basically try to give a tool that's updated every day or even once a week or every day to the residential agents so that they can advise their clients in a very specific and updated way. So as far as how I got into it, I've been doing this since 1993. So I'm going on almost 30 years. Started out for the title industry. So did that for about 10 years, then went into sales for another 10 years. So I got a personality there. And then I've been with the Crawford Report now since 2011. So about 11 years in this position.
All right, sweet. And Sheryl?
Been in the business 18 years now, and have seen every kind of market possible, and have dealt with both buyers and sellers throughout the almost 2 decades, and just love having a team. I'm very video focused, and my most recent accolade would be creating a team and learning how to scale my business. My hands I do more help with growing agents and also helping clients when I'm working on the business instead of in the business. It was a hard pill to swallow because I am a control freak. But it's been so rewarding, and I love my lead gen and the results I've seen over the last couple of years, despite all the COVID and everything going on. It's a fantastic time to be in real estate.
All right. And Greg?
So yeah, I've been in the title business, crazy business for, 25 years now, I think. Yeah, 25 years. I've seen it all too. But today I just want to say real quick how excited I am about this particular podcast, because you literally, if you're watching this, are going to be listening to 2 of the smartest women in the business I've ever met. And not only that, but like Tina's been through it all, through the title, through the sales, and through, the statistical. And she's like, and this is a huge compliment, she's one of the biggest super nerds I've ever seen in data. And she's just so intelligent. Sheryl, I met a long time ago, probably 10 or 15 years ago. She actually, a couple of things. She owned my favorite Irish pub, which I used to go to. And I went to my first outdoor Star Wars premiere event with her. So I'm like, wait a minute. She's smart. She owns an Irish pub and she's into Star Wars and she's a top producing agent. I gotta meet this woman and do business with her. So
And I love numbers. Numbers
so
are my
fortunately
thing.
for me, these are the type of people that I like to bring out to help other agents as well. So yeah, so I'm just here for the ride to listen to these two intelligent ladies tell us like it is. That's probably all you hear from me.
Awesome. Okay. All right. All right. Hey, why don't we start then with, and I know we have a couple different things we want to do, and we want to have Tina obviously share her screen at some point too. But Sheryl, do you want to start with sharing how you're able to be successful in today's market and how you're working with buyers when other agents are like, I don't know if I can do that.
Well, and the thing is too, everybody thinks that all the money is in the listings right now. Let me tell you, over the last couple of years, I've done both. And I love having the opportunity to do both, because I think that in order to be a great buyer's agent, you also have to be on the listing side, especially in the market moving as quickly as it is today, so that you understand what your competition is. So as a listing agent, and I'm getting 20, 30 offers in, I can see what my competition is. And so therefore I'm able to advise my buyer agents, and they write winning offers every single time. One of the things that I would really say, the buyer agent opportunity has been extremely challenging over the last couple of years. I believe Greg reported numbers as much as 10,000 agents had dropped out last year, just because they couldn't make a living at it, right? And I'll be honest with you, that's where the money is at. Despite the fact that it being an extreme seller's market, the buyers still have what the seller wants, and that's the money. And so if you prepare your buyer in the beginning the right way, you generate the right leads, you're going to love the market. Like, it's been fantastic for me and my team. Again, I pivot. I've always been pivoting, and thanks to Tina on a weekly basis, she pivots me that weekly amount. I tell my brand new agents, I let them know, it doesn't matter if you've been in the business 5 years, 10 years, especially 30 years, because it's kind of hard to treat, they say train a new dog, old tricks, whatever, right? But market knowledge is more valuable, in my opinion, than experience in the industry. They have me with them 100% of the time. We write the contracts together. I show them negotiations. I'm certified CNE, which is a certified negotiation expert. I teach them that. I encourage that certification. I think it goes on. I mean, if you got kids and you're trying to negotiate with them, I'm telling you, you can use the CNE certification in anything in life, right? But in today's market, I love working with buyers. There's a lot of opportunity out there. And I'm not afraid to say, I don't make one single phone call to my buyer leads. They call me. I don't chase buyers. Again, we did almost 50 million. And they're calling me. And the best part of it is, because of the way I generate my leads, which is through YouTube, it's all about connecting, personality, energy. And when they call me, they are my next best friend that I just haven't met yet. It is unbelievable. And it is so much fun. And it is just, my friend circle has just exploded. And the team's excited. And it's just been, and I'm really looking forward to the next couple of years where everyone else is a little nervous. I think it's very exciting, and there's a lot of opportunity for agents that really know how to grasp it and use the information that Tina provides on a weekly basis, and also how to do that lead gen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you said market data is so important, I think that in, the last several years, it may not have been as important because we've just seen, things going up. But now that you see all these headlines hitting again, and I know, Tina, you'd say, well, the bubble stuff started, the talk started back in 2013 or whatever. But I think that even more so now that people are feeling it in their pocketbooks, with the inflation and everything else, I think that the market data is impaired. If they're not getting this data, I think they're doing their clients a disservice for sure. So,
well, and there's the interpretation of the data too. Numbers talk. They tell a story, but if you don't know how to read it, it's of no value. And that's what Tina brings on a weekly basis. I mean, literally, and I always attend the one Mondays at 1 p.m. security title. Everyone in my life knows, do not call me. I tell people, don't do it from your phone. Don't do it while you're driving. Sit in front of your computer, uninterrupted, and pay attention. Don't get distracted. I can't even tell you. It is.
And by the way, if you need that link, just reach out to me and I'll give it to you. We've had the privilege of having Tina for the past, I think, 90 weeks in a row. Every single Monday at 1 o'clock, unless there's a holiday. I think next week there's a holiday, but we don't even let her go on vacation. We're like, no, you gotta be here Monday at 1 o'clock.
And I've never missed any one of her Zooms. Like, I make it a priority. And again, that's the biggest tip I can give any agent out there: market knowledge.
Listen to Tina.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, I think you guys let Tina off for a couple of weeks, didn't? She went to Hawaii or someplace, I think, at some point.
It was like her birthday or something.
I don't know, but there were like thousands of people stressed out that they weren't going to get their Tina for the week, including me. I'm like, she can't go on vacation.
It's a new era when it used to be people were like, I only need to hear from her once a quarter and I'm good. Now it's like, where were you last week?
1 week, you start having withdrawals.
Well, why don't we pivot to
markets moving?
Yeah, why don't we pivot to you now, Tina? Then, if you want to share some of the things that you highlight with the Crawford Report, I think Joey has it set up for you to share a screen if you want.
Yeah, I'll share my screen a little bit, but I think that basically what we're saying now is the market is shifting. And so whenever you are a buyer or a seller, it's not enough to now know that we're in a seller's market or whatever market we're in. It's knowing when it shifts and to be the first one to respond to that. And so if you are a seller and the market starts to shift away from you as in terms of advantage, hold on a second. Can you guys hear the wind, the guy?
Your landscaper?
It's like, now that's why I muted. He was literally on my front porch. I'm like, now.
Murphy's Law. Yep.
You can edit this out.
It's all right.
Where was I? So essentially what I'm trying to say is it's one thing when the market is stable and is a balanced market and moves very slowly and, little things here and there move. But for the most part, it's pretty stable. That's what we expected and saw in 2015 through about 2018. It was a nice, stable seller's market. Everybody got used to a certain way of, doing business. Like, you're going to hold this listing for a certain amount of time. You're probably going to have 1 or 2 price reductions. You might have to pay for a repair or some concessions or a home warranty. You get used to that, right? And then it starts to shift. But when, as a seller or a buyer, knowing right away when it's like, okay, things are changing like right now, and to be on the edge of that and at the front of it is where your advantage comes. And especially when the seller market starts to scale down, right? We've been in an insane market now for 2 years. I mean, beyond anything we've ever seen in my 30 years, your 18 years, I think you said 25 years. We haven't seen this. We've seen a lot of markets. And that's why when we say we've had experience, like, we've seen a lot of crazy. Okay. Mm-hmm. We've seen a lot of crazy, and you get used to working within a little bit of uncertainty, but leaning into what you know, and knowing now that we're seeing a shift away from this crazy insanity that we've been living for 2 years into just a regular insanity.
I know.
We haven't even come into a regular hot market yet.
What is normal?
That we're on the cusp of that is where the advantage comes for your agent, which would be Sheryl, of course, to say, this is our new strategy. I've seen this before. This is what happens. This is what you can expect. You're going to be you're probably going to be on the market a few more days extra than you planned. You're most likely going to see yourself give it, a price reduction, something we haven't really seen in 2 years, right?
Right.
And you might want to be open, by the way, especially if your property is not perfect, then you might want to be open to repairs and things like that. These are the things that the agents can kind of prepare their sellers for, and that's where the negotiation comes in. There hasn't been a whole lot of negotiation for a listing agent for a while, other than like, bring your 75 offers to me.
Yeah. One of my agents yesterday asked me, what are concessions? And I was like, oh, that's right. You haven't worked in a market with concessions.
Yes.
Concessions are when you go to the football game and you want a hot dog. No.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Exactly. And then that is really where not only even as a new agent to be aware of what the market is doing is one thing, but then to be hooked into somebody who is mentoring them as a veteran to help them guide their seller into this is what we do when the market's shifting like this. You don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be the one that thinks that our market's still the same as it was 2 months ago, because it's not.
Well, and I have to say, everybody from an agent, everybody goes, so what's happening in the market? Where's it going? And of course, the number one word that comes up is bubble. Is it a bubble? Right? Everybody wants to have that conversation. And in my opinion, anyways, right now, we have seen that pivot, that shift over the last 7 weeks. And I remember back in the day, March 2020, when the world shut down. And I remember you reporting it was like the second week where things were going down. And you're like, we need at least 4 weeks. We need data in order to kind of tell you what's going on. There can always be just a little bit. You need to see, and I don't know what the numbers are, but if I remember right, it's like 4 to 6 weeks in order to see a real trend. And right now, like I said, we're about 7 or 8 weeks where the demand has dipped, and with the interest rates that have gone up, and the sellers haven't all heard yet. So there's a lot of craziness going on right now, right, Tina? Like with price reductions.
Well, there are a lot of expectations that are not reasonable. Okay, let's just say. So when people say bubble, to me, I go to my PTSD from 2008 and I'm like, oh, so you think our property values are going to drop 55%? Really? So you think this perfect home that is in your price range, and say it's, I don't know, $500,000 it's in your price range is perfect, but you kind of feel like it's overpriced or whatever. Are you honestly going to wait for that home? Wait for it to drop down to $250,000 before you jump on it? You think it's going to cost, that's what it's going to take, and none of your other friends are going to jump on that before it goes down to 50? Yeah. Is that really a reasonable expectation? And it's not, because that affordability rate back then, well, it was normal, 2-3 years ago. That's not reasonable today. We make a lot more money today. We've had a lot more people coming into our communities that make more money today. Our affordability threshold is much higher. So the expectation that home is going to drop by 55% or even, 30 or 40% is probably not realistic to expect that's when, everybody's just, even though they can afford it, they're just going to wait. That doesn't make, you know what I'm saying? So that brings us to my question. What do you think a bubble is? What does that mean for you?
Right. Yeah.
And oftentimes you get a varied response. Some people do think it's going to be 50% off. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to you much later in life.
Yeah, let's reconnect in here.
Yeah, we're going to see if you're right about that. And then
I love how you make all of us that feel that way seem really silly after what you just said. No, I don't think my house is going to drop 50%.
Really? So, I mean, you think that's what it's going to take? If it drops...
What am I worried about then?
20%, do you think, or $20,000, would that probably be enough to get somebody off the fence and be like, hey, or get this, maybe the price doesn't need to drop at all. What if interest rates just came down by 1%? Would that be enough to bring a lot more people into this fold? So the idea that we're going to have another 2008 is not supported by math, and it's really not supported even by our own threshold of affordability at this stage of our game. But interest rates are high. So there are some people stating that they feel that a 10% drop might be in order. That is nowhere close to a bubble. That's not even remotely what I would consider a crash. But
what is well, I was just going to say, when you said today's interest rates are high, they're higher. They're not high. Really, and you've talked about this in one of your weeks, that when you look over the last 50 years, we're not high at 5 and 6%.
Still extremely low, traditionally.
Extremely low. So again, it's like when people are like, when are we going to go back to normal? What is normal? right? And because we had such a low basis, we had low affordability, we had lower interest rates. There were so many things that were low. And so we've come up so high on a lot of things that people, especially people that live here in the greater Phoenix area, and now it's not affordable to them. People that are moving here from other cities, states, and countries, I say this all the time, we're creating more jobs than we are housing right now. And although we have dropped significantly on the buyer demand, most of those are at that lower price point. And the people that are moving here from other locations, they're not buying in that lower price point. But yeah.
And to your point about demand, demand is truly everyone who's here. We've talked about this, where your population is your true demand for housing. Every head needs a roof over it, and your true supply is everything that's built. If you have more people, way more people here than we have houses to accommodate them, then you are in a fundamental housing shortage, period. So even when you see demand drop, that's just the demand of who's actually out there actively looking for a place to live, right? And so what you see is when affordability gets tough, like, with inflation and things like that, or with interest rate rises, even if they're low, what you see is people start moving in together, and that household formation starts to shrink. So you can actually see your demand drop, even though your population might still be rising. But the question is this: when it does rectify itself, because nothing is permanent and forever in real estate and in affordability, if you were to see affordability of housing, whether it's through rents or through purchases, then those people who are all crammed in together, 2-3 roommates, start splitting off. And that's when you actually start to see your demand rise, even if your population's not rising that high.
Right. And that will happen because they're not going to want to be roommates for life. Let's face it, at some point they're going to meet people, they're going to want to get married, they're going to want to have families. And like I said, we are creating more jobs than we are housing. So we will continue to have that inbound migration for many, 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 many years in the greater Phoenix area.
Absolutely.
I think I saw a article once, I think it was a weather guy maybe, that said that as long as there's sunshine in Arizona, people continue to move there.
One of the things I say on my channel is I say, the number one thing people hate about Phoenix is the weather. The number one thing people love about Phoenix is the weather. It's true. And you're always going to have your naysayers, and you know what? They don't live here, right? We're all saying if Arizona is not a perfect fit for you, but then by no means, do you need to come here? It is very desirable. And even though it is outside of what they call affordable, because if I remember this right from yesterday, we want to be between 60 and 75% of the inventory that is out there that is affordable to the median household income. Did I get that right, Tina? That's the ideal. We don't want to go below 60%.
That's right.
Yeah. And we have, with the interest rates that popped up, we have dropped down to as low as 45-ish.
About that.
Right? Yeah.
44, 45. Yeah.
Okay. So when you're looking at the other major cities, though, because most of the jobs that are bringing people here to the Phoenix area are in the tech, medical. I have so many anesthesiologists moving here. I don't even know, it's exploding. So when you have the population growth, you have ginormous companies that are coming here, like Taiwan Semi, Intel's expanding. And then you have their suppliers that are coming in, and that'll be even more jobs. You can just see this, butterfly effect where there's just demand, it's never going to end. And when you see the people from where they're coming from, even, in fact, right now I have a client in town from Ohio, and although he said that he gets paid more as an anesthesiologist where he lives, the opportunity here, the life that he will be able to offer his family because of the weather, because housing is still within that affordability range, it makes sense for him to move here now. And it's more expensive here, but you get more again, from a full rounded perspective in Arizona than where he's coming from in Ohio. I have clients from California, Portland, Seattle. Oh my gosh, tons of people from Washington. And it's shocking to see people move here from Florida and Hawaii. Now, yes, I have a Hawaii couple too. I mean, like, people are moving here for all different reasons, but really, when you look at a large metropolitan area, we're still in an affordability range for the higher paying jobs that are bringing them here.
Well, just for comparison, I'll just throw this out there. The affordability rate in LA is 11%.
Wow.
So
that puts things in perspective. For sure.
Crazy. But that being said, I'm interested to hear, Tina, what you would say is the best way to help buyers coming here navigate. Well, I think we're all in agreement that the people coming from LA, they just sold their house for $4 million. So when they come here and say, oh, this is a 4,000 square foot house for 800,000 and I got to bid 900. Okay, here's the cash. Yeah. I got the other 2 million in my bank. I'm done. I'm retired. But for the most part, the people that live here that are still trying to navigate, is it a good time to buy? What would you say to them?
I would say it depends. It depends on what your intention is. Are you looking to buy to be a landlord? Are you looking to buy to live in it for at least 3 to 5 years or longer?
Let's just say.
Are you looking to buy because you're going to flip it? I mean, we have all kinds.
Let's just say the people that need a house for the next 3 to 5 years. I've got a family of kids.
Yes. So if you are, and this is how it's always been for the average individual who's looking for a home to live in themselves, that you should expect to live in that home to get the full benefit of home ownership for at least 3 to 5 years. Okay. And that usually outruns whatever shifting marketplace, over time. And it also allows you to accumulate some appreciation in your home, which is typically not, by the way, 30%. Yeah. It's typically not even in the double digits. A nice reasonable median appreciation rate over the last 22 years is about 5.7%. Half of our years got more than that, and half of our years got less than that. So, you get a few years of 5.7 or 6% appreciation on your home. You get that nice accumulation, and then you might be able to refinance, because history also tells us that interest rates go up and down. So oftentimes after a spike like this, it's not unusual to see them come down just as fast as they went up sometimes. But it's reasonable to expect that at some point you're going to be able to refinance. And so even though that price that you paid is permanent forever, because that's what you paid, that payment's not. That's not a guarantee. In fact, I even saw something that said they were looking at reducing property taxes here.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So I think you said that yesterday in one of your charts. You showed that, even though we're at 5.5, which is still ridiculously low. I think my dad laughed because he and my mother, their first house, paid 18.5, and we're happy that they even got a loan.
Yep. My first one was 13.
So that being said, you showed, I think it was a 20-year graph that every time they did go up 2 points, a year later or 2 years later, they went down. So if you're buying now, most likely data shows that you're going to be able to refinance in a couple of years anyway.
Well, here's one of the things too that Tina brought up, and I don't know if she has this screen,
there it is.
But if you are going to be living in the greater Phoenix area, and you know this for 3 to 5 years, minimum of 3 years, my recommendation is get in anything that you can afford. Don't overspend. Stay within your comfort zone with today's current interest rate. It might mean a smaller home, an older home, a different part of the area, but you're paying someone else's mortgage down. And again, one of the things that I loved, again, what she was like, even at the rate of inflation over the next 5 years, whatever, I don't remember that. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're going to pay down several $100,000 on your mortgage. That is equity you're building in your home, not to mention the appreciation that we're going to see. And worst case scenario, at the rate of inflation, that's still a lot. And over the 3 to 5 years, you're at least in, I hate to call it the game, but you're in the game versus all these people that were told to do the Dave Ramsey thing. You got to save 20% or you got to save 100, pay cash. Look at all those people that have missed that window. Get in a home as quickly as possible. within your affordability, your personal affordability. That's my advice. And, again, if you had this dream, and I said this to my son, when he bought his first home, he was like, well, if I'm going to buy my first home, I'm going to get a new one and stainless steel appliances and granite and everything. I was like, all right, let's drive on out there. So we drove the distance that he would have to go. And he was like, yeah, I'm not going to drive all the way out here. Nobody's going to come and visit me. Now he's married, they have one, and they're ready to have a second one. And wife says, we're not going to have a second one until we get into a larger home. And guess what? Now they have over $300,000 equity in their home because they sacrificed. They got an older home. It wasn't exactly what they wanted. It was smaller, but you know what? Now they can make that great financial investment for their family for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's never too late to get in again, I hate to call it a game, but it's never too late to get into home ownership. So if you need a roof over your head, why not make that investment in your own future instead of a landlord's?
Tina, can you throw that chart back up and just give a 30-second overview of what that is? Because I found that really interesting, even being in the business, what the interest rates are doing.
Yeah, so what we're seeing right now is this spike up right here. This is where we are. And so historically speaking, just like you were referring to the 80s, there's your 18% interest rate. And so I was just showing here how long it takes for an interest rate to spike and then go all the way back down to where it started. And historically speaking, you can go up and come down, and it can be, this one was about 3 years before we were right back to where we started. 10 months, 14 months, 19 months, 18 months, 4 months, and then 3 years, 10 months and 6 months. So depending on how high you spike, when it's done spiking, it's probably not a bad expectation that at some point is going to start down, because typically that's what we've seen. And all of these little gray areas are recessions, just so you know. So this was a recession. This was a recession. So recessions are not necessarily associated with interest rates rising. Oftentimes recessions are when it's on the way down.
And the same thing as far as values. I think a lot of people right now, like you're saying, they hear the word shift, they hear recession, and they immediately assume the market is going to go down. The value of the homes is going to go down. That is an incorrect assessment, right?
That's right. Yes, that is true. In
fact,
fact,
can you explain how inflation and recession affect actual housing prices, not rent, but housing prices?
Well, inflation, first of all, affects rents. So the key thing people don't always realize is that in calculating the inflation rate, there's a 40% weight on rentals, not the cost to purchase a home, but on the cost to rent a home. So with that weight associated with our overall base inflation, you are seeing housing affecting inflation more than inflation affects housing. Okay. So what's pushing that up? Well, maybe it's that rents went up in apartment complexes 25% in a year.
Yes,
That'll push
and that's what we have heard. It's downright scary. Yeah,
exactly. And so the inflation rate in terms of buying a home, that's why buying a home is usually considered a hedge on inflation, because now you get to stop in its tracks whatever your housing costs are. And now you're investing, right? So as inflation goes up, oftentimes your home value goes up. So if you're in a seller's market, your home value goes up greater than the rate of inflation. If you're in a buyer's market, it goes up worse than the rate of inflation. So even if we go into a buyer's market, it just means that your home value will go less than the rate of inflation, which right now is 8.5%. So if I share my screen on that particular slide that you are referring to, let me pull it up here. Because you just went to one of my presentations. So this is the slide that we use to kind of illustrate that concept. So with this slide, the black line is our Cromford Market Index. It's proprietary to us. At 100, you're in a balanced market. So you can see in the beginning here, that's 100, that's balanced. In a balanced market, the blue bars are your annual appreciation, which is generally follows the rate of inflation, which is green. See that? So when you're in a balanced market, you can expect to get plus or minus the rate of inflation. When we moved into a seller market in 2004, this was our bubble. Notice that here's our rate of inflation. We got better than the rate of inflation. The higher this went, the more over the rate of inflation we went. And this is our buyer's market here. We've got below 100 here. And this is our rate of inflation, but we got much worse than the rate of inflation because we were in a terrible buyer's market. This was the crash. All right. So this is where we were 2015 to 2019. You can see that just barely above. This is a nice, normal, everyday seller market, which was great for sellers because you got to see this nice, stable rate of return. And this was your rate of inflation, which hovered between 1% and 2% for a long time. But now here we are in the seller's market, and here's our rate of inflation, and we're still getting better than the rate of inflation in terms of our appreciation rates. So not until this line comes all the way back down can we even expect this to go to the rate of inflation. We're still very much in a seller's market.
Right. So prices continue to rise.
Yes, as long as you're in a seller's market, prices will rise. However, now that we're shifting, and this is what people are feeling, like, oh my gosh, I have 5 more competitors? This is ridiculous. Like, what do you mean I didn't get an offer with my appraisal waived?
Yeah.
As we start to see this weaken, it doesn't mean that prices won't rise. It just means that we will start to see them curve. And so what we see, and I'll pull up a better chart to show you with our supply and our demand indexes. Here we go. With this, oops, there it is. So notice here, this is supply and demand. Demand is in the green, supply is in the red. When they're together, that's what we consider balance. But notice this is our bubble. When these two indicators start moving towards each other like that, look what happens to price. It doesn't go down, it curves. It curves. It doesn't go down until it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, just about, into this buyer's market before prior properties actually just took a little dip. And look how far above demand supply had to be before we had a crash. That's why the math does not suggest that we're going to have a crash like that. Our demand is still higher than our supply. So if it continues to come down like this, your prices will still rise, but your prices will curve like that. That's what we would expect, right? So we have been in a seller market for a long time. We've only seen one balanced market in the last 22 years. We can't count this, that's our basis. So we've had really one balanced market to actually even refer to. But what we're used to in Greater Phoenix is a weaker seller market. And that's what we're going to head into first.
Which is interesting because when you talk to the general public, they say that we've only been going like this since we recovered from the crash. And people don't realize that 2014 to 2018, that was a long time too, but just people forget it, Yeah.
It was very boring to be an analyst in 2014. Balanced markets are very boring. When the supply and demand come together, like two lovers who just want to be together, everything is stable and wonderful, and it takes you 3 months to sell a home, and people get to ask for repairs, and they go in under list price, and blah, 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 you have price reduction, so all kinds of things that we got used to. And now we've just been really spoiled over the past 2 years.
So I think that, there right now is a pivotal moment too for agents. You need to understand the market. You need to stay in tune with the market. It's not like you can just listen to Tina once and then carry that information for a quarter. It changes every single week. And, one of the things, again, from a realtor, I just say, if you're relatively new in the business and you're struggling right now and you're trying to figure out where to go, information is key, no matter what industry that you are in. And you really want to think about how you're going to prevail over how many agents do we have now active? 30,000?
In the MLS, the last I checked, we had 40.
40? Well, that's still a lot. Yeah. So I just want to say, if I can help anyone, if they have any questions, I'll be glad to pick up the phone. I know Tina's extremely busy. I'm not an analyst, but I'm glad to help answer any questions for anyone. I love helping people. I love helping people grow. And, I have to say the one thing is, I just want to lead gen, depending on where you're getting your leads. This information is key. using YouTube, which is an unexplored territory. And a lot of people don't know how to use it. And again, that's how I do 100% of my leads. I do not spend one single dime. It is completely organic. YouTube, because of the way they rate my videos, are the ones that put my video in front of other people. It is instrumental, though, to provide value in content. You can't just go on the market and don't be thinking that you're going to be talking about restaurants or reading, Wikipedia about a city. Like, that doesn't work. So I'm just, again, I can't tell you what a blessing it is that I do not pick up my phone one single time. I get several phone calls every single day. Oh my God, is this you, Sheryl? This is really you. It's kind of funny. And they resonate with my energy, my excitement, my positive. I'm kind of dorky. I don't care what I look like. Sometimes, let me tell you, I don't look my very best. And you have to kind of get over that vanity. You don't need professional videos. I do a lot of them on my cell phone. And I just, I think that technology is the newest way to go, but you can't go without this knowledge. Like, you can't be a top performer without
100%. And that's where Tina's knowledge comes in.
Absolutely. So, you want to know about content? This is your content right here.
Well, trust me, it's not all about me, though. I mean, the thing is that I can tell you the numbers and everything. But when it comes to strategy and how to guide your clients, that's not necessarily where I come in. That's where a skilled agent who can read their clients' needs and negotiate on their behalf, all of that comes in. So just knowing the information from me doesn't necessarily quell your
it's just a part of it.
Anxiety, but
yeah,
good, like you said, like using somebody like Sheryl and, an office like Greg's office there with people who really know what they're doing and they have seen these, they don't get rattled by them. You just have a different strategy. You're like, oh, we're doing this now. And so in my opinion, what quells anxiety for a buyer or seller is strategy and action. And that's what you do.
But that being said, in order to create that strategy, we need the information and the analysis that you provide.
Yeah.
So our strategy, the first step. So our strategy. So I would just like to say, I know we're kind of running short on time here. If you want to do yourself a huge favor and you're in this industry, join us every Monday, except for next Monday, at 1 p.m. to listen to Tina Tamboer and the way that she explains what's going on in the market. It's invaluable. I saw you, by the way, I saw you on the news the other day. I'm like, oh, there's Tina. She's on TV.
I do that all the time too.
She's on TV. I'm like, I know her.
She can stand
Santa, I know him.
Every now and then.
Here's the best part about the Cromford Report, Tina Tamboer. It's free. It's free.
Wow. For you guys.
Not for you, Sheryl.
No. But for agents that are looking how to grow and improve, this is where you got to start. This is really like where you got to start. You got to know how to write a contract. Yeah, you need to know how to use MLS. Yes, you need to know how to take care of your clients. And you need to know how to tell the clients, inform the clients, let them know, like you just said, strategy, exit, transition, relocation, whatever it is. There's a lot of moving pieces. But if you ask me, if you don't have this one piece, you can't do the rest.
Jeff, enjoy. This is probably the easiest one yet, right? You guys didn't have to say a word the whole time.
Oh yeah, let me turn my microphone back on.
I'm excited. Got some chatterboxes here,
right?
No, so really good.
3 people in sales. There's no way. Come on, you're not gonna get a word in.
So why don't we do this?
My favorite part is coming up right now.
Why don't we do this, Greg? Why don't you let the agents that are watching for sure know how they can get on the list to get the report every Monday or get on the call every Monday?
Yeah.
So my email is greg.douthit@securitytitle.com. My phone number is 480-703-9525. And if they just shoot me a text or an email, Tina comes out with a new link every Monday. She does not record them because they change so fast. Yeah. So, I get a lot of people they're like, well, I can't make this. Just send me the slides or send me a recording. I'm like, no, you'll miss everything. Yep. You'll miss everything. Plus, it's so extremely inexpensive compared to the value that you get to sign up for the Cromford Report. I think it's like less than $40 a month, and you get her knowledge and her analysis and analytics and charts and graphs and anything you could ever want for less than $40 a month. Come on. I don't know how she does it, but anyway, so that's how they can do it.
Right.
And I'd be more than happy to add them. I have a database of just Cromford Report, and every Monday morning I send out the link, and it's at 1:00.
All right. And Sheryl, for you, if any agents that are watching, listening, want to reach out to you directly, how do they do that?
Oh, let's see. The best way to do it is you can reach me via cell phone, 602-748-5588. Super easy website, goarizonarealestate.com. Just click on that's the easiest probably way, and you can contact me. You can do all kinds of different ways on goarizonarealestate.com. Super easy.
All right. And then Tina, as far as agents that might be interested in signing up for Cromford, do they go through Greg to begin with, or do they just go to your website, or what?
They can go to our website, just to reaffirm that we are only allowed to sell our subscriptions to real estate agent members of the Arizona Regional MLS. So we do have to double check because our data license is hinged on that. So you can just email us at accounts@cromfordreport.com and just give us your MLS ID and say you'd like to sign up. And then Michael Orr, who is the founder of the Cromford Report, he's a mathematician from Oxford, did a lot of our indexes. He will actually send you a link back to sign up. And he's still very active, and he writes a lot of our daily observations. So you can always call either Mike or myself. It's just the two of us.
Okay.
Which is amazing.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much for the great info. We're going to have a few questions here, but I wanted to make sure anybody watching and listening would know how to contact whoever it is they want to contact here. So Sheryl, you said that you are working with a lot of anesthesiologists for some reason. I thought of a little punchline for you here. Helping anesthesiologists with their real estate needs by giving them a shot of housing data.
I was like, I thought more like, don't fall asleep in this market.
Oh. Okay, that's better. Fine, I'll throw mine away.
Had a good time.
That's awesome. You guys are great. Love it.
All right, you guys ready to get in the ring? We got a few rapid fire. Big shout out to Security Title Agency and Fidelity National Home Warranty for sponsoring the show. We appreciate them. Make sure to give them a shot. And here we go. What do you think the reason is that many agents are not successful? And we can start with Greg, Sheryl, and Tina. Do it that way.
So for me, in my own business, it's the same as what I see in the real estate industry. And number one is consistency. Plain and simple. They'll want to start a marketing program or calls or mailers or whatever, whether it's old school, new school technology, and they'll do it for a couple of weeks and say it didn't work and stop. And I've been guilty of that too. So for me, it's consistency, 100%.
All right. Okay.
Oh, I'm next.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You see how I did that? I actually said Greg, Sheryl, Tina, because you guys are in that. Greg's at the top here, and then Sheryl, and then Tina. But then I was thinking,
I got
how do I make it even better? It's alphabetical. There you go.
So I kind of have two. Sorry. I think the number one is just for me of those two is a lot of people come to real estate thinking that it's a part-time job, and they don't treat it like a full-time job, and they just don't take it seriously enough. And so people, someone that used to be on my team, I said, well, how much do you want to make? She said, 125,000 or 150,000 a year. And I said, okay, great. I said, and what are your hours? And she's like, 10 to 3. And I said, 3, 4, 5 days a week. She goes, yeah. And I go, how, really? Like, if you want to make that kind of money, and she did on my team for the first year, I told her, this is what I expect though. You need to work like a normal job, and you need to schedule time stamp your, what is it? Time block. There we go. You need to time block yourself, even when you don't have business, even if it's playing around on the Cromford Report, it's $39 a month. Go on there religiously on a weekly basis, daily basis. You could learn so much just by reading her charts and everything. It's things like that you have to treat it like a real job. And the second thing that was tied with that is your broker makes a difference. And I'm not here to sell brokers, but my point was you get what you pay for. So if you want to make 100% of nothing, go for it. If you want to make even 50%, more like 80% off of, $50,000 to $100,000, think about it when you're choosing your broker.
All right.
So me?
Yep.
Me?
I believe that one of the aspects of people who start into the business and maybe don't, at least initially, succeed after in it is a lack of confidence, for one. And I think that's one of the things that we provide is a bit of confidence to help somebody who's learning all the rest at least know what that part's doing. But then you also see people that they get into it and they want to be what they call a secret agent. They don't want to tell anybody that they're a realtor. They just want to, all of a sudden become successful and everybody knows, but they don't want to have anybody help them get successful in their closest circles. And so I would say that kind of leads into the confidence level that you're not bothering people. Many people, when they start in, they're like, I don't want to bother people. Like, well, if you're going to come into that, if you're coming into the space thinking that you're bothering people by letting them know that this is what you're doing now, then you are slowing down your progress at the start.
Yeah.
I don't think Cheryl's had a problem with that.
No, I've never. Exactly. I mean, you don't even have to be an extrovert. Clearly, Cheryl's an extrovert. I'm more of an introvert. But that confidence on either side of that, to be able, like one of my favorite quotes is a friend's mother said to her, every light bulb attracts their own bugs.
Yeah.
You need to find your bugs.
True.
I like that.
And
awesome.
And again, one of my newer agents too, amazing personality, but just, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, sweet. Like just very sweet and everything. I'm like, wait, you're not I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put you in a bunch of open houses and I want you to have completely random questions about real estate. And then when you realize that you don't know anything about real estate, you're going to learn more about real estate. So then when you can speak with these people, you build that confidence. Yes.
Yep.
And yes, Tina, yes, I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yep.
All right. This one's a little quicker and we'll go Tina, Sheryl, then Greg on this one.
I'm always in the middle.
Apple or Android?
Android.
Apple.
See,
Greg?
Apple. Android is for the nerdy ones. Apple's for the rest of us.
Joey, you had
Apples
one.
don't do data. Data nerds do.
Android. Yep.
Yeah, the Android.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm left-handed. I don't think I am.
Yeah, artistic people.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
that
funny.
was the left-handed thing you followed. Thank you.
Yeah. And this time we'll do Sheryl, Tina, Greg. Would you rather listen to a podcast or watch a video?
Podcast.
Tina?
Me? Neither. I'd rather read an article.
Oh, there we go. That's like
Wow,
my wife.
I love
My wife.
it. Old
That's like my
school.
wife. My wife says, why do I see so many videos in my stream? I'm like, well, that's what there is there. And you happen to click on one. So they think you like it. She's like, I'd rather read it.
Yes.
How about Greg?
Yeah, not me. I'm a visual person, so I need video.
All right.
If I'm going to retain it, I need to see it and hear it. Although you can't watch, I get yelled at all the time for watching video in the car while I'm driving. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I do listen to podcasts in the car.
I love listening. I love the banter, and it's not just one person with a rehearsed message to say. Tina was talking about a video that was just posted recently. Apparently it's like a 7-minute video and I want to find it because like they're so off base. It's like, you put that out there for real? Like that's how people get misinformation. But like craziness out there on videos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being on here. It's been great information. I'm sure the agents got a lot out of it. I know I did. So
Fantastic.
I think Joey did too. Yeah. Look at him. He's shaking his head there. Yeah. Good.
I'm just so used to Joey and you guys, your banter, but I guess you couldn't get a word in with us. So
No, that was tough. That was tough.
Yeah, it was, but it was great. Great
We
information.
would have gone a couple hours if I got into that. So
We could. Well, thank you.
does anybody
so much
have big
for
plans
having
for the summer? Anybody taking a big trip before we get off of here?
Alaska.
me. Oh,
Alaska.
Nice.
Wow.
that's awesome.
I would like to be cold in the summer.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, you're taking your laptop, right? And
Oh,
Monday
yeah.
at 1:00 in Juneau or wherever glacier you're on, You're going to do the Crawford report from the glacier?
I don't know about that. It is a big fishing trip, so I have no idea. I'm going to be drugged most of the time, pretty sure. So.
Oh, very, very nice.
All I ask is that you bring me back some halibut.
All right, we'll see.
Some Alaskan halibut.
If I'm lucky.
All right.
Crab legs.
Well, thank you all for being on here. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I appreciate
everybody.
having us.
All right. Till next time, agents, we will see you later. Make sure to pay attention to the Crawford report.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, guys.
Adios.